Hello and thanks for stopping by the channel. Today I'm looking at the game Conan for the PlayStation 3, published by THQ in 2007. It was also released for the Xbox 360. Now, a few years back, when the PS4 started to gain traction, people started to care less and less for PS3 games. This is when I started to gather games for this system. The prices pretty much plummeted, and I kept rotating between various GameStop stores, and I scooped up any used game that I could that had a clean case, that looked like it'd be something I'd want to play. Overall, I ended up with a lot of games. This was one on that pile, and honestly, I got a great copy for only a few dollars. After playing 7 or 8 hours of this game, I have to say it is worthy of a full price. The fact that I got it for such a value makes this one even better. Now, Conan is a classic character created by Robert E. Howard, and there's a good chance you're aware of who Conan is. I mean, he's had 3 dedicated movies over the last 20 years or so. He's had multiple comic books. There's been plenty of fiction written around him too. That's where he started. I have a collection of the black and white comics myself, and a bunch of the books, and I've always liked the stories, and everything that they've crafted around the character is fun. Conan generally exists in a desert-like environment, and there are castles, kings, sorcerers, and monsters. Basically, we're talking swords and brute force. That's it. This game represents that type of a setting very well. So this game actually falls into a particular category for me. Back in the PlayStation 2 days, I remember a friend telling me how great the game God of War was, so I went and grabbed a copy and I popped it in, and it was great. But it made me realize that I'd been playing this type of game before. Basically, this was Devil May Cry. Conan is in this same category to me. You play a character, running around with weapons, killing monsters. The monsters are going to drop health, they're going to drop experience, or they're going to drop energy. You're going to use the experience to upgrade your character's skills along the way. I guess maybe you could say this is a little like the game Bayonetta 2. That's fair. Maybe just not as crazy as what Bayonetta describes. I think the differences between these franchises really isn't much more than the type of story that they have behind the game. Besides that, all the mechanics, they feel pretty much the same to me. Conan is also one of those games that I think you have to relearn it a little bit if you put it down for a while. I played this one for a while, then I put it down for about a month, and when I picked it up, it took me like 20 minutes to get comfortable again. In terms of story, I'm almost 8 hours in, and I don't remember exactly what the story is specifically. You've released some sort of a wizard. Somehow he cursed your armor and he scattered it across a large area, and then he teleported you away. You team up with a pirate queen, and you're both trying to get some sort of revenge on this wizard, and you're trying to get your armor back. You kind of want to get back to kill him, I guess. I don't remember exactly what the story is, and honestly, I don't care. They keep throwing new and interesting enemies at me on screen, and I keep upgrading my abilities. It just makes me want to keep on playing this one. It's important to note this is not an open world game. It's definitely linear in terms of map, and the camera is also pretty much fixed. It does change a little bit as you move from area to area, but when you're in a fight, it doesn't change at all, really. It only changes at specific parts of the map, so if you're fighting someone and you walk behind them on screen, you might be performing button presses when you can't actually see your character. I think you'll notice this most if you get behind a really large opponent and you just can't physically see who you are. Alright, so fighting. Fighting is a lot of fun in this game if you can get the hang of it. I'm not comfortable enough to say that I'm an expert, but I think I figured out some parts of this. First, if you do a bunch of successful hits or combos, you might trigger a flash of red and your weapons get this sort of red glowing outline. This is good. You want this. This increases your offense for a period of time. If you start getting good at fighting, you'll notice that this happens to you a lot. That's good. That means you're getting a hang of it. You also have spells that you can trigger. There's a blue meter at the top of the screen. When it fills, you press L2 and you'll trigger whatever spell you've selected. There's only like 2 or 3 that you can select, and usually this is just an area of effect. It does damage to a bunch at once. It's good to hit multiple targets. You'll hopefully get to do this once or twice a level, because it can be useful. The better you play, the more you're going to fill up this bar and get to use it. The majority of fighting in this game is you holding some sort of a weapon and hacking and slashing. The great part about this is you have a lot of weapon combinations that you can play. There are weapons that are one-handed, there are weapons that are two-handed. you are constantly picking up new weapons. If you have a one-handed weapon and you come across another one-handed weapon, you press R1 to pick it up, and now you can dual wield both at the same time. Now all the combos you're seeing on screen utilize two weapons. You can also throw the second weapon if you want by pressing R2. Now, how many weapons are in this game, I honestly have no idea, but I believe most, if not all enemies that had a weapon, when you kill them, they drop that exact weapon. It's not a random weapon that they drop. It's the exact one that they were just using on you. So if they were using a hand axe, you can scoop up their hand axe. Also, the appearance of the weapons actually seems to change for most enemies as you move forward in the game. So it always seems like you're picking up a new and interesting shaped weapon. Swords aren't the same from the first part of the game to near the last part of the game. They're different depending on each person you're going for. So it's really interesting to have that sort of variety. As you gather experience in the game, you're going to press the select button from time to time, and you can purchase new offensive moves. These are combinations. How many moves do we have here? I have no idea. All we know is there's a very long list, and new items in this list keep appearing. My save game has about 8 hours in it so far. I've purchased more upgrades than I can count. The list is still not exhausted. So basically there just are tons of upgrades here. We're talking about combat, so you can run into a fight, and you can start mashing your attack buttons. You can just run in, point Conan somewhere, and just start hammering the buttons, but the truth is, I didn't start feeling like I was doing very well in this game until I slowed down. If a combination is XX triangle, or actually it's PlayStation, it would be cross-cross triangle, the goal isn't to just press these buttons as fast as possible. You need to slow down, and you need to do it while paying attention to how your character is moving on screen. So for this type of a combo, you press X, and you would watch your sword swing, and as it's about to connect with an enemy, you have to continue the combo and press X again. And then when the second strike hits, you press triangle. When I started trying these combinations slower, I started to get crazy advantages over enemies. That red meter started to fill up really fast, and people started to drop. So I think here the idea is you need to slow down with the combinations. Once you do that, yeah, there'll be a couple I'm sure you gravitate towards, but man, they'll start to clear the screens out. It's great. This is the PlayStation 3, so as you would imagine, the graphics are amazing. The movement is smooth, and the setting, well, I like how the Hyborian Age is being represented here, and the way they animate Conan as he fights is great. Yes, he's inhumanly proportioned, and yes, the feats of strength that he is displaying on screen at times is certainly not possible. I don't believe a human being, any human on this planet, can knock over a 10-ton pillar that's just standing there. I don't care if the pillar's cracked or not. You just don't have that physical ability to do it. But it's a game, and it's Conan, so alright, I'll let it happen. It's good. It's a fun adventure, it really is. There are going to be cutscenes as you progress, and there are also going to be mini finishers for some enemies. You'll be fighting somebody, and maybe they'll go down on one knee, and the game will suddenly give you an icon on screen basically telling you to perform a specific button press, or maybe multiple buttons, to finish somebody off. If you can do that in time, you'll perform some sort of special kill, I guess. It's not for all enemies, just mostly the bigger ones. The bosses here tend to be very large, and of course they're going to have specific patterns you need to follow. You can't just mash your buttons and hope you're going to win. You have to do something. And you can figure it out on screen. Usually there are indicators to tell you what to do. Just like other games that are similar to this, and it works. This one offers a ton of enemies, and it offers some basic but interesting puzzle solves from time to time. Mostly it's fighting though. I think it does a good job of changing things up as you go. Different enemies, different weapons, different maps. And sometimes you need to figure out the proper path to take, even though it's linear. You'll be in an area and you won't know where to go, but if you wander around that small area just a little bit, it's just not always obvious what you have to do, but you can figure it out. In this game too, Conan is also voiced by Ron Perlman, which I think is a great fit. There's plenty of good audio for this one, and I really like how the game handles. I guess this was considered a financial failure when it came out, and I have to say that's really unfortunate because this is a really decent depiction of Conan, and it plays really well. Also, the progression of your upgrades is way more detailed and involved than I would have ever expected. If you like Devil May Cry, if you like God of War, if you like Bayonetta, this probably isn't that expensive a game these days. It's probably worth your time. Well, that's all I have today for Conan for the PlayStation 3. Thanks for giving this video a watch, and I'll catch you on another one.